Okay, we're here now at Kentuck Knob, which is just about 7 miles away from Falling Water. Falling Water, the classic, built in 1934, 1936, around then. Here we have a mid-1950s design by Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright, of course, the most famous of the American architects, and certainly somebody that's influenced on all modern architecture, really, I'd say, all modern domestic architecture today. And yet here's a house right at the end of his career. He was 87 or 86 or something by the time he was working on this house. And I think it's a really good example of what happens when an architect doesn't really respond to what the location needs and also what his client needs, because architecture should be about improving the way we live. And we saw that fantastically down the road at Falling Water. That was a house which was so located in its organic environment. It was called organic architecture, and here we have something very different. 20 years later, another rich family commissioned this famous architect to come and build them something fantastic, and I think it's failed. I wish I could show you the inside. We can't do that right now, but basically I'm facing a huge woodland. There's no view at all, and yet 20 metres that way on their land, huge piece of land here, it's the most incredible view over the Pennsylvania landscape. So first of all, Frank didn't position the house where I think he should have, where anybody that doesn't even know about architecture would say, well, why haven't you got the view? So there's a fault there. Inside, there's all sorts of problems. There's low ceiling heights, there's corridors which are so narrow that you brush your shoulders when you're walking through them, and there's no shortage of space here, and there's no real shortage of money when they built it either. There are tables that are too low to sit at comfortably. You'll be constantly knocking your knees, even if you had a low chair to sit on. And there's lots of other small little... It didn't really respond to life in the 1950s. I don't think it responds very well today. Thank goodness, in some ways, this is a museum. For me, the most interesting thing here is that it was bought in the last 20 years by a British aristocrat and filled with his art collection and also his collection of famous chairs. And for me, that was more interesting than the house itself. So the lesson here is that architecture needs to respond, first of all, to the people that live there and also to its environment. Frank Lloyd Wright, probably more than any American architect, has taught us that architecture needs to respond to its environment, but in this case I think he failed, and I don't know what he was doing. This is the end of his career and he should have done better. Thank you.
You're welcome.